Hello and a warm welcome in the headquarters of EINBÖCK. We are very pleased to present you our product range in these special circumstances as we are right now. Here in our showroom, where you can have a perfect overview of all of our products. Of course, we are not able to welcome any guests in these challenging times, so therefore we decided to do the training this virtual way. Due to technical reasons, we've already recorded this training session a couple of days before. Today I will give you a little overview of our grasslandcare products and how to use it properly. After this short introduction, we're gonna start with the training Increase Forage Quality, Secure Grassland Yields. In the general part, I will give you an overview about the company and myself as well. Afterwards, we're gonna take a look on the benefits of grassland care, what are my targets on grassland care, common problems and mistakes which are made in grassland care, and the right technique and operation. Directly after the training, you can ask questions in the live chat which have not been answered yet. Now I would like to introduce you a little bit closer to the company EINBÖCK. The company is a family-owned business which is currently run by the third generation, and the fourth generation is also already included in the company. We are located in Austria at Dorf an der Bram. All development, construction, production and everything else is done here. At the moment we have approx 200 employees, where 160 are in the production and approx 40 are in the office. You can buy our machines all over the world, and in the most countries we have importers. In the US and in France we have daughter companies who take care of the sales. More details regarding our company and where you can buy our machines you will find on our homepage. Now let's take a closer look on our product program. Our wide product range is divided in 4 groups. The biggest and most important one is crop care with the tinedweeders and the row crop cultivators. We have been developing row crop cultivators already since 40 years, and since 35 years the tinedweeders are developed. Then the second one is tillage, which is our oldest product range with already 70 years of development. EINBÖCK is also well known worldwide for our special tinedweeders for grassland, where we'll take a closer look later. This product group grasslandcare has been developed from the tinedweeder technology. Last but not least, the product group seeding and fertilizing. We build small seeding boxes for seeding, for example cover crops or greenings, but also big front tanks for seeding or fertilizing. So that's me. My name is Johannes and I'm in the company as a sales guy since 3 years already. My responsibility is taking care of the markets Scandinavia, Czech Republic, Poland and Slovakia. Besides that, I'm owning a farm which is currently rented out. And at home I'm running a cattle farm together with my father. Now as we start with the real topic, first of all, everybody has to ask these 3 questions to themselves. Are you satisfied with your yields on grassland? Have the energy contents been on a higher level so far? Is your grassland matted or tangled, or is weed pressure reducing the quality of your forage? The plant population gets more and more important. A general recommendation would be 60% grasses, 20 to 30% legumes and 10 to 20% herbs, whereas the herbs provide the mineral content. That's the ideal composition for protein and mineral content. High forage quality decreases the forage costs. Due to higher demands in milk production, it's necessary to increase the forage quality. Here are yield targets for a high intense grassland with approx 5 cuts a year. Our yield target here is 10 tons of dry substance each hectare. The energy density should be around 6.0 to 6.5 megajoule Nel each kilogram dry substance. and the protein should be somewhere in between 14 and 18%. But please take care. The megajoule NEL is a mid-European standard for milking cows. Please convert your individual units to your country. These are usual problems in autumn at spreading manure or slurry. Conditions are wet, the machines are heavy. Here an enormous mechanical damage is done, which can take seasons to repair again. Take care about conditions, especially in wet autumns. Also, climatic change can cause that in autumns and early winter the grass is still growing due to much warmer temperatures. Here in the picture, for example, we see the grass could grow in a warm late autumn. If then some snow is coming, the grassland will be pushed down totally by it. If somehow possible, the grassland should be kept below 15 centimeters height before the winter is coming. Here, for example, they use the mulcher. Of course, that's a lot of time and energy to use. Also, conditions can be wet and it can make more damage than with just leaving the grassland like it is. If the grass is too long during winter and snow is coming, then in spring the grassland can look like this. Loads of old and dead grass, matted and compressed. In addition, molehills can develop under this layer of snow. Now I'm gonna show you a few pictures of classic problems in spring. For example here. Here is in total incomplete turf. We see the gaps over here, and also here a lot of dead grass is blocking the vegetation. Also, mechanic damages due to machines in very wet conditions can be a really big issue in spring. Too long grass is going through the winter and gets pushed down by snow. That's the problem we see here. To conclude, which problems do we usually face in spring? First of all, gaps of course, then damage through molehills and voles, damage through other wild pigs or other animals. There is some regional difference of course, then matted dead old grass and a damaged turf. In addition, there are a few factors which add to these problems. For example, slurry, high concentrated, spread it out during wrong weather conditions. An unbalanced fertilizing can harm the grassland as well. Grassland which is too short or too long during winter will get a very slow start during spring. And to say to the management, many cuts on an intense grassland can depress key plants. Pasturing in wet conditions can make a big damage as well, due to footsteps and especially at the water access. There are also many mistakes in management which can be done by mowing. The cutting height should be always above 7 centimeters. A big topic is always soil compaction in wet years. I know it can be tricky due to time pressure while making hay or silage. But tremendous damages on the turf can be done. And the time of cutting is sometimes chosen wrong. Too late cuts can weaken the turf as well. Soil compaction when driving on a wet soil limits the growth of precious forage. Avoid mowing and spreading slurry in wet conditions. Often tracks are still visible in the next seasons. The gaps will also be open for room for weeds again, like we see here in the picture. Here, for example, a lot of weeds can develop. Now that's a situation we see quite often these days. But towing the grassland with a simple meter is too less for a quality forage and will not harm any weeds. Just mowing or towing the grassland once in spring is too less. To have a quality forage, there needs to be some input. If there is not any input, you cannot expect an output either. That's the same with the arable land. For example, when we take the next picture, you see these gaps which are made should be definitely reseeded. The grassland will get stressed too much. What will happen in intense grassland with a lot of cuts? Quality forage grasses will not be able to reseed naturally again. Now in the picture we can see loads of weeds and lack of quality grasses. Here, for example, we have some dock inside and a lot of gaps here as well. Now, which solutions EINBÖCK can offer? Here, for example, we have our grassland weeder with the strong front leveling plate. Here, support wheels to guide the machine and the weeder sections. On top of it, we have the pneumatic seeding box, which is distributing the seeds in here, and the tines are working the seeds into the grassland. On the right hand side, we see a picture how grassland usually looks in spring. And here we see the gaps, and these gaps definitely have to be filled with new seeds again. With this machine, big molehills and other damages are leveled with the front leveling plate. If you would just tow the grassland with a harrow, you would smudge the open and wet soil and the pores would not be open anymore. With this special front leveling plate, the open soil is jumping into the space where the tines are and will be distributed there. And here we have an overload protection by a tension spring. Now a short video how that's working in practical. Here you see a classic grassland in spring. The grassland is already in vegetation, before it maybe has been too wet or something. And now we see what happens. The molehill will be lifted and distributed gently to the tine sections. Now that's important. Here you see how it should look like afterwards. The soil is open and the pores are not smudged or anything. The soil can breathe and reseeds can quickly germinate in this good soil structure. Then the tines are doing its work. The EINBÖCK tines are individually developed for grassland. For lighter soil, the tines with 8 mm diameter are recommended. These are also the standard tines on the EINBÖCK grassland machines. Highly recommended on all other conditions are the 10 mm tines. These are the classic grassland tines. EINBÖCK has 40 tines per meter working width, so that's 2.5 cm tine distance. That's really perfect for getting out moss, dead old grass, and they weed perfectly. The tine itself is held by a plastic holder. The holder ensures that the tine is always guided straight and also go back in straight position as soon as work is done. The tines are bended at the end, which we can see here. Therefore, it's possible to adjust it with the handle on each section to pretty aggressive to the front or to drag when maybe the grassland is a little wet. Here we see the tine distance once again. The tines are mounted on 6 rows, so the machine is really working the whole surface. Many grassland machines on the market only have 1/3 the amount of tines, sometimes only mounted on 2 rows. With that solution, it's not possible to work the whole surface in one crossing. Here we see pretty good how the organic matter can be worked out on the full surface with the many tines we have on the weeder. The machine has the perfect frame for this work. The main frame is following the ground perfectly. In addition, the machine is guided by 4 support wheels, which includes 2 double wheels in the middle. The folding wings can also compensate 10 cm to the bottom, so it's perfectly following the ground. The hydraulic level control, which we have here, has quite a lot of advantages. The hydraulic sections are all connected to each other, therefore the system is taking pressures from weeding in the crusty soil at the beginning of the season from the machine like a spring and will distribute to all sections. The hydraulic pressure can be decreased or increased from the tractor cabin, so that's pretty comfy. Also, as the leveling plate is in front of the support wheels, the machine is running quite much more gently. As we see right here on the pictures, the hydraulic level control provides perfect ground following on the edge of fields or on hilly land. Now, here is a short video of how the machine is working. That's how grassland care should be done. That organic matter is weeded out and grass is reseeded. The seeds will be seeded precisely and in the gaps which we see here on the picture. And as we have seen previously, the machine and the seeding box have no problem with hilly conditions. Now let's take a closer look to our seeding box itself. As we see right here, the seeding roller has some separating plates, which will guarantee that also in hilly conditions the machine is working properly. With the handle over here, we adjust this brush. The brush takes care that the excessive seeds are staying in the tank. Also, there are several different seeding rollers available. Depending on size of the seeds or on the working width, we can change them real quick. On the box a fan is mounted. The fan is blowing air to where the seeding roller is letting out the seeds, and the seeds will be blown out to the hoses as we see here. Here the blower is sitting, blowing down air here where the seeding roller is in, and it will be distributed to the hoses. Up to 6 meter working width, the standard electrical blower, as we see it right here, can be used. It will generate enough air for seeding amounts around 40 kg each hectare. If bigger amounts or bigger seeds like grains are seeded, a mechanic or hydraulic fan is necessary. First I will show you the mechanic fan. With this mechanical blower, a seeding amount of approx 200 kg each hectare is possible. Here we are talking about 6 meter working width. When we go to 12 meter working width, still 40 kg of seeds are possible. The PTO drive shouldn't be below 750 rounds per minute. Usually we recommend 750 to 1000 rounds per minute. Then there is also the solution of a hydraulic fan. This type of fan can have its advantages as soon as the blower should be mounted on another machine like a cultivator or anything else. The fan can be mounted and dismounted quicker. So if there are two machines which need access to the box, we usually use the hydraulic version instead. Again, like the mechanic fan, here we have a maximum seeding amount of around 200 kg per hectare on the 6 meter working width and on 12 meter approx 40 kg. I'm always talking about a working speed of around 6 km per hour. Here we just need a single acting hydraulic valve and a pressureless return to the oil tank of the tractor. The oil demand is approx 25 liters per minute. For example, on this PNEUMATICSTAR-PRO with 12 meter working width, which is trailed, we use the hydraulic fan. Now let's take a quick look on the distributor plates. These are mounted on the third row of the weeder sections. The reason is because then 3 rows can loosen the soil and open it, plus get out the dead old grass. And then with the last 3 rows, the tines are working the seeds into the soil, so they can get touch with the humidity. In the video here we can see how the distributor plates work. Now let's take a look at the steering of the box. First, there is a simple one which is driven mechanically by a wheel which is called P-BOX MD. What we have here is the P-BOX STI. The STI can be linked with the 7-pole cable to get the speed and upper link signal. Of course, here a plug in the tractor is required. Also we can get the speed and upper link signal from a sensor, which is standard on the equipment. Additional features are an area and operating hours counter, a calibration button, and an airflow monitoring, tank level sensor, or different sensors for speed like GPS sensor or radar sensor. So which seeds are possible no matter if STI or MD box? Definitely of course grass seeds for reseeding. Then we have underseeds or greenings, even fertilizer or grain is possible. The box is possible to mount on every single EINBÖCK machine and also on foreign brands. Now here we have 3 additional sensors which can help to ease the handling with the machine. On the left hand side we have the tank level sensor which gives a signal as soon as the tank is empty. In the middle we have the calibration button, and on the right hand side we have the airflow monitoring which is giving a signal as soon as something is blocking the hoses. Most recommendable is the calibration button. With this one, you can start the calibration test yourself directly on the machine. And you can always control not too much seeds are running into the bucket at the test. Now, as we have been talking about our technique a little, we're also gonna take a closer look at the redevelopment of grassland and the different ways to do it. First of all, it's recommended to exceptionally mow the old grass deeper. If required, do weed control and create gaps for the reseeding. Work out moss with the tinedweeder. On highly damaged grasslands, a rotavator or rotor harrow can be a solution. Depends on how high the damages are. After very intense reseeding, rollers like Cambridge rollers are recommended. Still, some rain is the best recompression the seeds can get. The pH value shouldn't be below 5.5. If it's the case, the redevelopment won't work properly. The conditions for germination are pretty bad then. So what are our possibilities? Plowing and reseeding is a possibility, of course. Then we have different types of direct seed technologies. A redevelopment with a rotary harrow or rotavator is possible. And then last but not least, a redevelopment with a PNEUMATICSTAR with several crossings to get out the weed, and then at the last crossing we reseed. Let's come to the plowing in reseeding. Sometimes plowing is not even possible on every grassland. Plowing means high costs and low hectares each hour. And it makes only sense when the grassland is really totally damaged or destroyed with heavy weed pressure. It does only make sense when the quality grasses are less than 50%. Then there are some different types of disc drill or slot drill machines. The advantages of these types are the seed will be drilled in directly to the humid soil and can germinate quickly. The disadvantages are you won't get rid of the matted grass and create no gaps. If there is some dead grass, it won't touch the wet soil then anymore and will have problems to germinate again. Also, this version of redevelopment is pretty expensive and ineffective. Sometimes seeds get digged in too deep, so they are then missing light and cannot germinate anymore. Then the third point is the redevelopment with a rotor harrow or a rotavator. This version does make sense when the quality grasses are less than 50% and there is a high weed pressure. Also, damage through wild animals can cause such drastic steps. But please take care. With a high amount of dead organic matter in the damaged grassland, and if you rotavate it then, it won't be possible to compress the soil anymore. If it's then reseeded, the seeds won't have contact to the soil anymore. Also, it's quite a big amount of soil which will be moved. This can disturb microorganisms. And it can take some time until the new grassland is fully developed. Therefore, that's quite expensive as well. Now you see what happens when too much dead organic matter is turned over by a rotavator, as we've talked before. Then the germination is really bad, as you see in the picture right here. Also a lot of wood weed like a dock can develop. On the other picture you see how the dock then has developed. And the grassland again is fully destroyed by the weeds. Now I'd like to show you the effects of weedy grassland a little closer with a small calculation. As we have been talking before, the grassland yield should be somewhere around 10,000 kg dry substance each hectare. The energy density is somewhere around 6.0 and 6.5 megajoule Nel each hectare. And we are hoping for around 16% of protein. Now let's take this example with 15% gaps, weeds or any other useless plants in the composition, and we are missing out then on 9,000 megajoule Nel per hectare and in addition 240 kg protein. Please again, I'm calculating with mid-European standards, so please feel free to convert it to your unit and also convert the euros to your currency in the country. Now with this 15% of gaps and the following 240 kilo protein per hectare, we can do following calculation. If we replace the protein loss with soy meal, and if we take a soy meal with 40% of protein in it, we need 600 kilograms of soy to compensate the loss of 1 hectare on protein. So if we calculate then with the current price, which is more or less 0.39 euros each kilogram, then we are losing out only on protein on 234 euros each hectare grassland, just with 15% of gaps. The energy loss we will replace with wheat. And as we already have 4,400 megajoule per hectare from the soy, we still need 4,600 megajoule from the wheat. And now we take wheat with 7 megajoule each kilogram, and that means we still need 650 kilogram wheat to, I would say, replace the megajoule loss we have from the gaps. If we then calculate with 185 euros per ton from the wheat, we get 120 euros grassland as well in here. So the whole loss of energy and protein with just 15% gaps and weeds in the grassland is 234 euros, which we need for the soy, and 120 euros which we will need to buy some wheat, and we will have on each hectare grassland to replace 354 euros. And now an average non-seeded grassland is normally having 30% gaps, weeds or any other non-productive plants. So that would mean approx a loss of 700 euros each hectare of grassland. Of course, if we put that in a relation with the reseeding costs once a year, that's a tremendous amount of money we are losing out. So if we take a quick example with 8 to 10 kilometers per hour with a PNEUMATICSTAR and we reduce the time for turning and filling, we can do around 4 hectares each hour. If we calculate with 60 euros for machine each hour, we get 15 euros each hectare, and we calculate the same for the driver plus tractor. In addition to seeding costs for around 10 kg of seeds, we get 80 euros of care costs each hectare. So even if the currency and prices are different in every country, the relation from care costs to loss due to gaps in grassland are everywhere the same. So now I would like to take a little look on the fertilizing of grassland. Of course, it's not only about nitrogen, but it definitely needs to be highlighted. For the wanted 10 tons of dry substance, we need around 220 kg of nitrogen each hectare. Without that, these yields will never be possible. Of course, these amounts, the 220 kg, are way too high to fertilize in the grassland, but therefore the legumes are really important also when you choose the seeds for reseeding. 60 kg we already get from the legumes in the composition. Therefore, 160 kg nitrogen each hectare would still be needed. That's approx 30 to 35 kilo each cut. Still, there are more indicators for fertilization. Limestone, for example, weakens the dock and strengthens the grasses. Approx 1000 to 1500 kg each hectare limestone is recommended every second season, I would say. The best time of the year for limestone is with the reseeding. The pH value should never be under 5.5. Otherwise, it will be bad conditions for germination. Please take care when reseeding alfalfa or clover, the pH value should be around somewhere 6.5. Also, sulfur is quite an important basic nutrient. It increases the protein content a lot. And the demand of 5 times cutted grasslands is around 50 kilo each year. The organic fertilizer, of course, is already compensating quite much, but at the really intense grassland it's still not enough. Fertilizing sulfur is recommended early in spring. The organic fertilizer can balance the different compositions of basic nutrients. In slurry or manure, there's not only nitrogen, phosphorus or kali, but also many other important nutrients. Reseeding can only be successful if the basic nutrients are balanced in the soil. Together with the pH value, they build a perfect soil structure. Now a quick stop at the most usual weeds in grassland. Dock, for example, which we have here, is germinating with light. Therefore, he is using all the gaps which are in a damaged grassland. Therefore, it's pretty important to close these gaps with precious forage plants. The seeds are germinable around 70 to 100 years. Without reseeding, there will never be any control of this plant, because all the gaps always need to be closed. But one of the biggest issues in the grassland is always poor trivialis. I don't know how common it is in the different countries which are watching, but in the mid-European area that's a real big problem. Also, like the dock, it's a gap filler mainly on soils with a lack of oxygen. It's a durable weed with roots on top of the soil. Within the second cut, it gets more and more smelly and filthy. Therefore, with this smell the cattle won't eat it anymore if the amount is too high. Now we see a picture how it looks after the second or third cut. It's crawling on the ground and not making any yield anymore. So what helps? Continuous reseeding so the gaps cannot develop where it has space to grow. With aggressive weeding it can be ripped out easily, and especially in summer it's easier to regulate because the roots get dried out easily by the heat. You won't see any grow no more like here in the picture. Therefore there is no yield anymore, while all other quality grasses remain growing. Here we see on this picture how quick it can develop and fill the gaps due to the shallow growing roots. So what can help us? First of all, aggressive weeding, approx 3 to 4 times, then swath it and drive it off, of course. Then the reseed, and afterwards maybe a roller, because on uneven soil a Cambridge roller is recommended. Sometimes it needs to be totally renewed, because there are way too many weeds, so reseeds wouldn't make sense anymore. When we take a look at the picture, all the organic matter will be weeded out. So that's a tricky one. Even if the grassland looks quite clean and nice and green, you see how much organic matter is coming out at the back. And this organic matter needs to be driven away, of course. In the other picture, we see how big the gaps are now after a few passes with the PNEUMATICSTAR. There the seeds can germinate perfectly. If we reseed just at this pass we see in the first picture, the seeds will never be able to get some soil contact. Now sorry for the poor quality of this video, but it's a perfect example from a farmer. It's amazing how much material he's getting out of this grassland. And definitely here you cannot do any reseeding with this pass. The matter definitely needs to be driven away. And here is one more video with the similar result. It doesn't matter that the weeder is dragging the material, because anyways this needs to be driven away. So swath it and drive it away. And on the right hand side we see a well prepared grassland for the reseeding afterwards. Here a new start can be done. Then next step is seeding. With at least the amount of kilogram each hectare like it would have been with a newly reseeded grassland, so at least 20 kilogram each hectare is necessary. So the last step is the rollers. With this strong reseeding method, now it can make sense to use a roller. So rollers, yes, when I have opened my soil and made a lot of gaps for a redevelopment, but not in a vegetation. There it bends down the grass and it will depress the growth of about 10 days. So why EINBÖCK? There was once done a comparison of different types of grassland weeders, and some of them only have a few tines, some of them don't even have banded tines. And here is the big advantage of EINBÖCK. On these tests, the EINBÖCK weeder has worked out the most moss, dead grass and other organic material, as we see here on the graphics. As I've already told you guys, rolling is sometimes necessary to close the contact to the soil. It should not be done in connection with the weeder. Weeding and compressing again is counterproductive. Material which has been worked out will straight after that be compressed to the soil again. So that makes no sense. So rollers only make sense when you have done a redevelopment, not when a simple reseeding or grassland care is done. If rollers, then heavy rollers and with low speed. So I would say rain is always the best compression. Rollers only normally cover around 20% of the surface. Loose rings like a prism roller or a Cambridge roller is always still then the best. But still, if we take a look at the picture at the right hand side, we see that only the top of the rings is touching or compressing the soil, and therefore never the whole surface is compressed together. On this picture we can see once more, it's only the rings or the lines who are touching and compressing the soil. Now let's talk a little bit about grassland machines with weeders and rollers combined. So for me, in my opinion, the perfect work speed of a tine weeder is somewhere in between 8 to 12 kilometers per hour. The perfect work speed for a roller is maximum 5 kilometers per hour. Therefore, the roller won't work properly on higher working speed and the weeder won't work on lower speed, of course. Also, as I said already, the dead material will be rolled in again. And as we talked previously, on a natural grassland, the roller is never able to cover the full surface. So on the graphics here we see it once again. With the grassland machine combined, roller and weeder together, we have a half done work and half of the amount of hectares done in an hour. And the machine will still be much more expensive. So I would also talk a little bit about the right time of seeding. In my opinion, there are 3 times where it's, I would say, recommended to reseed. In general, we can say directly after the winter, because there it's anyways important to refresh the grass with the weeder to activate tillering and the soil has enough humidity so the seeds can germinate. Where it's too wet, it is more recommended to do it after the first cut. In summer, when it's dry, a reseeding will not make any sense. The seeds will just dry out. It makes sense to wait until late summer or early autumn, where the humidity is coming back during nights. That's enough for the seeds to germinate, and the main turf is already weakened due to an intense summer with many cuts, so the seeds can start growing easier. So before the first cut after the reseeding, there are a few points to take care of. The first cut should be mown at a height of about 15 to 20 cm. The cutting height should be minimum 6 to 7 cm, so the reseed is safe. Pickup and rake are not permitted to scratch the surface, and the result is then less competition with the old turf. So now I'm gonna show you a picture on how a well-developed reseed with precious forage grasses should look like. Here, for example, they have done a reseeding with, I think, ryegrass and other precious grasses. Now I would also like to introduce you real quick into a new partner of grassland machines of EINBÖCK. Now a short introduction of our new partner, the company Fritz Mayr, with their sensors ISARIA. The plant sensor detects well and poor developed spaces. The sensor option Smart for Grass enables then an automatic adjustment of the seeding amount while reseeding is done with the EINBÖCK PNEUMATICSTAR. The ISARIA sensor hands over the values to the job computer and then the job computer regulates the rounds per minute of the seeding roller. EINBÖCK and Fritz Mayr are developing this system especially for grassland reseeding. So just to conclude the training real quick, I would say the most important step at the beginning is to identify your causes. Then set actions early and harvest success. On the long run, I would say a reseeding and grassland care with our PNEUMATICSTAR is always cheaper and makes more sense than a total renewal. I would say the PNEUMATICSTAR or PNEUMATICSTAR-PRO of EINBÖCK is the ideal grassland care machine in spring to close gaps real quick. It's aerating the turf and tillering will be supported early. Gaps will close every year and you'll fight weeds continuously. High efficiency keeps down the costs, and I think that's also one of the most important points of the machine. So keep your grassland clean and you're gonna have happy cows. Further details about grassland care you can find in our newly developed lecture. The handbook of grassland care will be free as a download on our homepage as well as printed form. And the book will be available from the start of next year. Finally, please stay healthy and I hope we will see each other again in future. Thanks for your attention.
We are a well-established family business with a track record of more than 80 years for uniting tradition and innovation. The manufacture of agricultural machinery and equipment is our passion. With our first mover spirit and our progressive way of thinking and acting, we cater to our customers' high demands every single day. As a team, we are striving for optimal solutions because we are researchers who continually develop innovations and perform practical tests and experiments. Farmers who try out different approaches on agricultural test plots. Designers and builders who sketch our customers' design ideas on paper and turn them into user-friendly devices. IT experts who leverage their competence to create efficient and rapidly applicable products. Welders who utilize cutting-edge equipment to deliver on customer requirements accurately and flexibly. Painters who create eco-friendly, premium quality products. Assembly workers who assemble machines of superior quality. Apprentices who approach new tasks with curiosity and enthusiasm for the job. Consultants who are inspired by agriculture and advocate sustainable management practices. Educators who share their experience and keep farmers abreast with state-of-the-art technologies. Sales reps who meet with customers to develop new ideas and offer tailor-made solutions. Logistic experts who focus on the timely delivery of our products to any place in the world. Service engineers who ensure that customers can always rely on ready-to-use machinery. Partners who assist farmers, dealers, and importers globally with technical expertise. We specialize in organic as well as conventional farming practices and are committed to our mission of being your partner of choice in professional, future-oriented, and eco-friendly land management practices, ensuring that also future generations will be able to benefit from nature's diversity. We are promoters of sustainability. We are EINBÖCK.